Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and today I want to talk about something that affects all growers, no matter where you are in your growing journey, whether you're a brand new grower or an expert grower. I want to talk about the journey of growing your own food and how difficult it can be. Look, I've been doing this over a decade and I still fail. I still have moments where I think to myself, well, that was a waste of time and money and energy. But I still do it over and over and over again. I still attempt to grow my own food because I care deeply about the food that I feed myself and my family. And the reward, when it does work, is so great that it's worth every single moment it took for me to get that head of broccoli or that lettuce or whatever the crop is. Now, I've had it happen many a times where I've spent all season growing something. And I always think of my uncle who jokingly makes fun of me and will tell me, well, wow, you spent all season growing those onions. You know, you can buy onions for $1 a bag or whatever. And I know that's true. Sometimes as gardeners, we're crazy enough that we spend more money and more energy and more time growing an onion that we could go get at the store for, a quarter or an eighth of that price. But we do it because we care. We do it because we love what we do. And so today's video, I want to talk about all the things that I've learned in over a decade of growing to try to make that journey for you a little bit easier, and how you can grow really happy plants that are going to produce as much food as possible in your garden. So we're going to do a 4-part series of every single thing that I can think of that will make it a little bit easier for you, that will prevent some mistakes. As you can see from our videos last month, none of us are immune to mistakes. It happens all the time. We're human. But I want to make it a little bit easier for you. So before we get into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, so every time we put a video out to help you grow the most food you possibly can, you'll be notified. So let's get into it. Okay, so today I'm talking about everything that you need to know to try to grow as much food as possible in the easiest way possible, and how to avoid many mistakes that we all make. So I'm gonna go over a lot of stuff. I hope you have a pen and a piece of paper to write this all down. It's taken me over a decade to learn it, so I'm gonna share it with you. So the number one thing, if you talk to any farmer, any market grower, CSA farmer, anybody who grows food a lot and they need to grow it for their living, one of the first things that they're going to say to you is purchase really good seed. Now, obviously, I own a seed company. I love seed. I live and breathe seed, so I'm, even more partial to it. But it really is important to start with a good quality product. Now, what does good seed mean? Well, if I had to order it, the first thing I would say is freshness. So seed has a viability, it has a lifespan, just like we do. And even though it can live a very long time, over time it starts to degrade in its quality. So the older the seed, the slower it is to germinate, the more likely you will have weak seedlings or seedlings that don't really do really well, and just overall poor performance because they're not young and vigorous. Just like we get older with time, so does seed. So buying good quality seed that you know is fresh is the best. Hey, that's a nice little rhyme. And how do you know that? Buying from a reputable company. Any company that is doing really good work and that goes through a lot of seed very quickly. If you shop with your seed company and they're sold out of a lot of stuff, that's a good sign. That means they're going through stock and they're restocking and growing new seed each year, and that is going to make for better seed. Now, not all seed has the same viability. It depends on the variety, but just as a general rule of thumb, every year you should get fresh lettuce seed, carrot seed, and onion seed. Those 3 seeds in particular really degrade very quickly, and really you can think the smaller the seed, the less sugar and starch and things it has stored up in its seed coat to continue to be a viable seed. So that their germination rate each year will drop by quite a bit. So that's a pro tip for you there. We have found seeds in the tombs of mummies, at archaeological sites that we've been able to sprout. So they can last a really long time. But if you're trying to grow your own food or food for others, and you want to maximize your time and energy and make the most out of it, start with really good seeds. That will be the number one thing that you can do to ensure that you have good genetics, healthy seed that's nice and fresh, that grows quickly. Now let's talk a little bit about what good genetics means. Well, it's really important that you grow varieties of seeds that are meant for your area or your growing conditions. That's very important. So we at San Diego Seed Company believe in regionally adapted seeds, so that's seed varieties that do well in our hot, dry climate. And now, because we live in a global economy, you can buy seeds from all over the world. You can grow varieties that, thrive in England in your backyard. Well, is your backyard like England? That's what you want to ask yourself. So here in Southern California, it's very hot, it's very dry, we don't have great soil conditions, and so I want varieties that are going to thrive in that. I can't grow very good Brussels sprouts where I'm at. That's because we're not very cold and we're not very moist. So I'm not going to grow Brussels sprouts for my family to eat. I'm going to grow other crops that do much better here. That's a key thing that you can do to ensure you're getting a lot of food and that you're not wasting your time. So you're probably asking yourself, well, how do I know what varieties do well in my area? Well, one of the best things you can do is buy from small seed companies that are doing really good work to do the research and the trialing for varieties that are specific for an area, versus purchasing seeds that are meant to do all across the United States in any condition. And you'll find that a lot of small scale seed companies are doing that work because it's a viable business plan, right? We want to sell a product that does really well for our customers. And so we do the research and the trialing to make sure that happens. The other thing is understanding your region, the microclimates that you're growing in. If you have a better grasp of what your climate is like, down to very finite details, you're going to be able to better than choose yourself what varieties do well. And in fact, a lot of the varieties we have in our catalog have actually come from growers who have grown them and saved the seeds, and they have paid attention to the growing habits of these plants and have said, wow, these do really well in our region. That's how regionally adapted seeds even come about. It's by small scale selection and breeding. So before I ramble on and on about that, the point is buy good seed, buy fresh seed, and buy varieties that you know do well here. Go talk to other farmers, ask other growers what they've grown, what they like. And instead of just buying something because it looks really pretty in the catalog or on the Instagram page or whatever, buy something that's proven to work in your area. All right, so up next on the list of things you really need to consider is, when do you grow a particular crop? So it doesn't matter if you buy the most amazing lettuce variety that you know does well in your season, but then you plant it in August, it's still not going to grow very well because that's not the right season. So it's important to know when your plants grow and when you should plant them in your particular area. Here for Southern California, we have two basic growing seasons: warm season and cool season. And now these crops have a lot of collective similarities with them, and that's why they like to grow in either the warm season or the cool season. So right now we're in November in San Diego, and you can see here I've got my lettuces that I'm growing, that I'm starting. And lettuces are part of the cool season crop group. So things that are in the cool season crops. And I wish that I was with you so that you could say them with me, because I want people to really understand this. So lettuces, things that are similar to lettuce, so dark leafy greens, kale, all of your brassicas, right? So that is broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. Those are all very similar. I want you to understand how these are grouped together. All of your root crops, so that's carrots, beets, radishes. Your onions, they're also grown in the cool season. And then your peas, they're grown in the cool season. So all of these crops like cool weather, shorter day lengths, and ample moisture. And that's what we get in the cool season here in Southern California. Well, not always ample moisture, but it would be great if we did. So on the other side, we got cool season here, warm season over here. You have all of your fruiting vegetables. So they like warm temperatures and longer day lengths. And all of these, let's name them together, they all have fruits, right? So that's peppers, watermelons, tomatoes, squash, what else am I missing? Beans, that's a really good one. These are all crops that grow in the warm season. So an easy way to remember it, and there are some exceptions, but if you're eating the leaves or the seeds or the roots of a crop, it's likely a cool season crop. If you're eating the fruit of a crop, it's likely a warm season crop. It's a pretty easy way to remember it. And now just let's think about this logically. Why is that? Well, it takes a lot more energy to produce a big old watermelon than it does a couple little leaves of lettuce. So that's why they need those growing conditions. If you grow things during the correct time of the year when it's supposed to be grown, it will thrive right off the bat, versus if you try to grow it out of season. So that's a really good pro tip that's going to give you a lot more produce and a lot more food for your family in the long run. Okay, so I know this is a lot of information and you don't have to remember it today because we have it all on our website. We will put links in this video so that you can check out all the information we have of the list of when you grow a crop and what season it does best in. So now there's one last part of this whole equation that can get a little confusing, and I know it definitely does for new growers. So you have when you grow the crops. Now, when do you start the crops? And that's typically at the beginning of that season. So for example, here in Southern California, Zone 10, we have to start our cool season crops when it's still really hot outside. Why? Because we need to get them up and started so that they can grow during the appropriate season, which our cool season is very short. If I waited until it got cold to plant all my cool season crops in San Diego, I would be sorely disappointed because it would be too late. Now, on the other side of that equation, the same thing happens for those that live in areas that have a lot of frost or have really cold winters. You're likely going to start a lot of your warm season crops when it's still very cold, because you're trying to get them up and growing to a size so that when you put them outside in that warm season, which can be a little short, you're maximizing the time that it gets to grow in those ideal conditions. Now, how do you do that? Well, that's when like a greenhouse comes in play, or cold frames, or row covers, high tunnels. There's tons of information out there on how you can do different season extending techniques. We've got some information on our website about row covers that we really enjoy. Shade cloth is a product that we use all the time in our really hot climate. So just remember, you got to get ahead of the season. A farmer's work is never done, and you got to make sure that you have your plants up and started so when that season starts, you can take advantage of every single day in that season. Okay, so that's part one of our 4-part series. So before you forget, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned as we go through everything you need to know from seeds to harvest on how you can maximize growing your own food. So stick around.